Alright, scientists claim that the universe is made up of protons, neutrons, and electrons. Seems like they forgot about the one simple thing called morons! Get out of the way, asshole! You know what I'm getting at? Because that is similar to the topic of this video. Let's dive into it, shall we? This is going to be one of those brain teasers, one of those brain exercises with you. I'm going to come up with a theory. Hopefully you guys can patent it for me, not steal it and fucking go up to, the scientific journal and write a thing and your own theory and then you patent it. It's my theory, alright? But I am happy that I'm going to be able to share it with you guys. So I have a theory. Now think of a theory called, I actually don't know what it's called, where they claim, the scientists, they claim. I don't trust the scientists. If they're not going to come out with their name, then it sounds like a bullshit. But, so they came out with the theory, the scientists, there's infinite amount of U's in infinite amount of dimensions. That is horseshit. There is literally no logic in there, and I've heard the arguments. The logic in the reasoning does not surrender to the evidence. However, when they say that there's an infinite amount of dimensions, they are on the right path. They just need a mind like mine to go further. There is not an infinite amount of U's. That doesn't exist. That is impossible. There is one you. We are part of a collective. And if you want to consider the collective an infinite amount of U's, like your cousin's you, then we are getting to some weird tangents, which also does not bring logic and reasoning. But here we are. Infinite amount of dimensions. Where am I going with this? What is a dimension? It's clear to me that a dimension, for example, we're living in what they claim is 4 dimensions, where we are 3-dimensional objects functioning in the 4th dimension. This type of dimension is not what I'm going to be talking about in this video. I'm talking about a dimension that is far beyond something that we can see with our eyes, using any type of telescope or microscope. We can't see that far or that small, right? So these are different types of dimensions in my eyes. It's a whole nother ballgame. Think of it like this. I seen a Family Guy episode where they basically shrunk down to the size of being able to be deep into the carpets, where the carpets look huge, and then there's mites. I've also seen on Facebook about these mites. Those scary things that go in your face and then create looking like rashes and acne and shit. So that's, in my opinion, a whole new dimension, because we don't even consider this. Okay, yeah, just walk out in the middle of the highway, retard. Anyways, remember what I said. Scientists claim protons, electrons, and neutrons. They forgot about morons. Jesus Christ, these idiots. So, anyways. Just being at that small of a realm is a different type of environment, a different type of ecosystem, a different type of whole perception. Just being that small as mites. Mites will have to fend off whatever else is that size, right? Very, 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 very tiny, microscopic. You can't see it with your own eyes. They go into your face and they're itchy, right? And you can look up those. I looked them up on Facebook, on Google. All the images of them, and they're fucking gross. Those mites, right? But the point is, I'm getting at is that it's just a whole different type of thing. I'm going to call that a different dimension. But the real dimensions that I'm going to be discussing here goes far beyond as small as a mite, and far beyond our solar system. Far, 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 far beyond these things are different dimensions. And it's important to me for this theory to explain to you as simply as possible my theory. Take a telescope. See as far as you can with that telescope using the best technology that we have. What is the farthest we can see? Galaxies going around galaxies. It's very, 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 very strange, but this is what we identify. Now, there's a reason why we identify that is generally the biggest, because that is the next dimension. Going smaller, going to the microscope level. What's generally the smallest that we can perceive? Atoms, particles, little atoms. And we're going to discuss this a little bit later, but what is an atom? It's protons, neutrons, and electrons that are circling around and becoming an object, which appears, because of the vibration, to be solid. Even when we touch it, it appears to be solid. But we all know that it's 99.9999% space. Right? It's space in that object called whatever. Let's just say it's a stone. It's a stone, it has atoms, and it appears rock solid, and there's tons of atoms that are combined with other atoms that are circling around each other in order to be combined to each other, because it's all space, and because of friction and space and gravity. It is all together. That rock is all together, with similar like atoms, protons, electrons, and neutrons going around each other. Think of our solar system. Proton, the sun. Neutrons, planets. Electron, black hole. We don't have electrons on our dimension and our wavelength, on where we are in infinite amount of dimensions, being that of larger or smaller. Now, this is going to be really, really strange to those that believe in science. The reason why I'm bringing up this idea is because it changes your perception, and it becomes very scary if this is true. Now, of course, there's no way for me to prove that this is true. I mean, perhaps one day, maybe 1,000 years from now, we can find out a little bit more, we can see deeper, we can understand more. But as of right now, this is what my theory is, and I'm not going to say again that I believe it 100%, but it's just my theory. It makes the most amount of sense to me. So, solar systems going around solar systems, similar to an atom going around an atom. Whoa. What's in between the protons, neutrons, and electrons? Space. The majority of it is space. How much space is between you and, which is on a neutron planet? In the sun, proton. How much space? How much space is between? 99.999%. Okay. Very weird that this is consistent from the smallest amount of particle, called an atom, to a largest amount of space and time that we can see, which is the same thing. It's planets and stars going around each other, connecting each other through friction and gravity. Same fucking thing. Same fucking thing. So, could it be, this is where mine goes, and you say I'm a fucking retard, but good try. That rock that we were talking about earlier, that's full of those atoms with particles going around each other, and then it becomes a solid object. What if we're just in a rock of a higher dimension? Right? And our solar system's going around another solar system, which is just those atoms that are in atoms, going around atoms, solar systems, going around solar systems, going around solar systems, creating galaxies, galaxies going around galaxies, and it holds it all together. But it may be ever expanding for one reason or the other. Crazy that I'm talking about that as, you know, a rock that we could be in. It could be rock, it could be whatever. And that would lead me to another question that I'm going to talk about later. But just imagine, because I'm trying to explain this as simply as possible. If you just keep going out and becoming bigger, let's say we all just got and I don't even know how to describe a height. Let's just say we're able to become as big as our galaxy, right? And we're able to perceive things that are farther. Then we have a scope that can see even farther out. What do you think we're gonna see? Just the same shit? Stones and fucking lights, you know, stars and black holes and stuff. Is that all we're gonna see? No. We're gonna see something probably even crazier. And you just get bigger and bigger and bigger until you can see what the fuck we're in. Right? It's a little freaky for me to understand it, because I don't understand it, obviously. But then you look really, really small, and then you have atoms. And they're going around each other, and they hold each other together. Could it be that we're just in an atom? Could it be? And then no one from that higher dimension can notice us because they don't have anything that works as a microscope to be able to see us on Earth, right? Or no one's probably looking because it's such a different dimension, a different existence, perception. Just like we can't see anything smaller or bigger than the dimension that we're stuck in. Now that could lead to another question. What the fuck is matter? And where the fuck did it come from? Something that I've thought about for a long time. Scientists claim the Big Bang Theory happened, right? Which they say, oh, the universe was the size of a pea or a golf ball or whatever, right? Like, how the fuck are they going to be able to measure all of the universe? Come on now. And then put it all the way down to the size of, and then to be able to tell you, yeah, it was the size of a golf ball. Come on, come on. Logic, logic, logic. This isn't a conspiracy that I'm coming up with. Think for yourself. I'm not saying, you know, get woke, but think for yourself. That's the best way to really wake up. And don't believe what you hear until you surrender to the reason and evidence. And it has to beat the prior reason and evidence for a different theory. And don't also believe 100% of a complete theory. I don't believe in the Big Bang. Don't believe in it. It doesn't make sense the way the scientists are saying. Could it be a real thing? Very well could be. So one of two things would create the Big Bang. One, the universe itself, or existence itself, is playing a game. Therefore, it would be consciousness that is the underlying reason for the Big Bang. Now, I don't believe in that. Again, there's 1,000,001 reasons why I don't believe in that. It just doesn't make sense. But because scientists haven't come up with my theory yet, which is actually based on things that are actually going on in the universe, from the smallest level to the biggest level, and then that sets a precedent of new ideas and theories and probably new physics that can result into the future of mankind. If they can only wrap their head around my theory. Well, you have tiny things going around tiny things, and it's all space, but if you look up, that's kind of what we're in. Is it just a coincidence? Could be. Could very well just be a coincidence. Could also be what I'm talking about is true. And if it is true, then you need to stop thinking about the Big Bang altogether. Because the Big Bang can't exist unless there's one of two things. Consciousness or the universe trying to create something. Right? So, as you probably know from my previous videos, what's the purpose of life? What's the meaning of life? It is very simple. It is for consciousness to experience itself forever in immortality. That's why you have a will to live. That's why you have a will to reproduce. Consciousness must stay on, there's a will for consciousness to constantly experience and constantly be aware and constantly grow and become better. You can argue the same thing with AI. That's why they're scared of AI. Because that's what consciousness is. We want to grow and get better and better and better and survive. Of course, the bare minimals, survival first and reproduce, so you know that the next generation is going to be able to experience this reality. Consciousness must experience itself. So could it be that consciousness is just trying to experience itself and manifest itself on every dimension? Very well could be. Also, pretty fucking scary if you think about it. Consciousness is pretty fucking scary if you think about it. We don't understand consciousness. We know that consciousness is awareness and the ability to be able to experience itself and to experience reality and matter and other consciousness and reproduce, so then you essentially become immortal. You know, consciousness becomes immortal. You are just the vessel for consciousness to experience itself. And we're all tapped into what I would call the ether. That we are all in this idea realm, this realm of consciousness, and be able to come up with ideas. How does this exist? There has to be like a mainframe of consciousness. I know I'm losing you guys. I know some of you guys turned it off by now, thinking that, wow, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. He's hit a fucking wavelength now. But what is consciousness and what is matter, and how does both of these things reside on this infinite wavelength of dimensions, if I am right? See, then it becomes extremely scary, and a lot of people want to stop thinking. This is what wakes me up in the middle of the night in a positive light. I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about this shit all the time. All the time. What is this rock that we're on? I've come to the conclusion, the idea rather, it's a neutron. It's just a neutron from a different dimension. It's fucking weird, right? Because the neutron is affected by the protons and the electrons, just like in an atom. And the protons are going around other protons, and the electrons are going around protons, and it's just the neutrons going around that, and it's just fucking obvious to me. But what created this stuff? That's the part that boggles us all. Screw my theory. How the fuck did rocks and consciousness get here? Well, here's the thing. Without my theory, you're left with the Big Bang or God. But then we're stuck with the question, who created God? And if you dive into my theory, then you realize if there was a God, it all can make sense under my theory rather than the Big Bang, rather than creationism, because then there's a lot of questions asked. But if there is a God that has created infinite amount of universes, or let's just say created matter on all different levels of dimensions, creates matter, and then creates consciousness. Still, I think that is even creepier than no God. But the point is that I'm getting at is that I don't know. And I don't want to pretend to know. But it's something to think about. I love the idea that you can just keep going up, 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 and then look down and see exactly what we see now, which would be solar systems going around solar systems. Just like an atom is connected to another atom through friction and gravity. Right? It's pretty wild to think about. That is that all we are in a higher dimension is this little fucking particle of matter in a higher dimension. Then how truly infinite are we? Because what we experience right now is one universe, which is one dimension. And I hope that we guys, if for whatever reason, if this idea becomes popular among science, which I hope that it becomes, if this idea becomes valid in science, I hope that we rethink everything that we thought of before, and we stop saying that this is a universe when this is only one dimension to the infinite amount of universes, or infinite amount of dimensions that just keep getting bigger and bigger and smaller, and there's universes that we would call in every fucking little dimension. Just like when we look at, atoms, when we look at single-celled organisms and bacteria and I have my blinker on, he doesn't have his blinker on, and we're playing this fucking game because he just won't look. Alright. I believe more in my theory than I do of the Big Bang. And if that is all that is big, then we are confusing ourselves because we are trapped in this dimension, in this perception, on this size of our brains to be able to, and obviously our bodies and our vessel, to be able to experience things at this level. Of course it gets bigger. And of course it gets smaller. So we need to wrap our heads around bigger ideas than the Big Bang, which is such a simplistic, retarded notion of how this thing became. No, because matter can't stem from matter. Matter does not create matter. It doesn't work like that. The only thing that has been able to recreate itself is consciousness. That's the only thing. So where the fuck did matter come from? If this was the Big Bang, if there was a pea-sized, very, very dense object, where the fuck did that come from? And that's the same idea of, okay, well, if God created this whole thing, where the fuck did he come from? Only in my theory. Can you stop asking stupid questions and we can actually talk about real shit? Well, where did God come from? Well, that's just a ... and that's it. There's nothing to fucking talk about. You're done. What created the Big Bang? How did that object get there? ... You're done. There's nothing else to talk about. And if you want to continue on those stupid theories that have ... questions asked, clear inconsistencies and clear basically questions that aren't going to ever be answered, then we're going to be stuck and never growing. So get out of those theories, get into real theories, like my theory. I don't even know what to call it yet, but I've thought about this for a long time. I've just haven't really made a full, I don't think I made a full YouTube video on this yet. Pretty sure I didn't. But that's my idea. Could we be in a blade of grass or something from another higher dimension? And that's where our universe is? And then what created that? Well, if it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, then we can kind of understand that there might be something that is creating this. And again, matter does not create matter. That's why the Big Bang Theory is retarded. Matter does not create matter. It never has, never will be. It's not empirical. It's not something you can prove. But consciousness has been able to create consciousness. Right? And just like I'm here and you're here, we're not here by accident. Consciousness is trying to recreate itself and experience things. So I believe with these forces of physics, especially friction and gravity, is trying to create. What is creating the force? In my eyes, I'm not sure. But the evidence points to consciousness. Just like I can manipulate matter and consciousness. What else can manipulate matter and consciousness but consciousness? So am I going to call it a god? No. Because if there is a god for this dimension, then there's higher gods. Doesn't make sense. End of discussion. Then that wouldn't be a god, right? Because if that person's creating, well, what are we doing? We're creating all the time. I created new structures all the time. You know, people created this truck, right? We create things. We are consciousness, and the higher consciousness we are, the better we are at creating things, and the technology just keeps getting better. So what happens at some point? Do we ever get outside of this realm of this dimension? Probably not. I doubt it. But we can perhaps go from one atom to another, which would essentially be like a solar system to another solar system. But how about even just going from... I know you guys are probably thinking I'm fucking crazy for still talking about this, but just think about the higher level. Can we get out of the galaxy and then go into another galaxy? Could we go past that? Perhaps. In due time. In thousands of years, perhaps. But this type of idea, this theory, could be the catalyst of making it happen. People are so concerned about going to Mars. That's a good thing. But I'm thinking deeper. Because the Big Bang idea is just ridiculous to me. Like, I can't even entertain the thought of that, because then all of physics, everything that we know is horseshit. It's all just... has no credence. I don't know. I definitely could have said this a little bit better. But I think the important thing is to realize that matter can't stem from matter. And I believe, or my fabric of understanding is that there's consciousness or something beyond us. Way beyond us. Go back to my video, The Purpose of Life, or The Meaning of Life, whatever I named that video. To understand the purpose of us. It's so powerful, whatever drives us. It's stronger than even our genetics. And the genetics is like superior than us. And there's another dimension outside of that that's controlling. And through the ether is creating us to experience ourselves and grow and get better in higher consciousness. Of course, the elites don't want us to be higher consciousness. The elites don't want critical thinkers like myself coming up with new theories. They don't want that. They want you to surrender to a Big Bang or a religion. They want you surrendering to scientists, which is a science religion, or surrendering to religion and the government. So you surrender to those three things? Oh, fuck. You are controlled. You're going to be docile. You are a slave. You really don't matter. But coming up with these new theories that I always do, you know, like empty space doesn't exist and I come up with these other theories. I always come up with these theories. That's why some of you guys watch my videos. But I definitely believe that it just doesn't stop with like the biggest star you find is like the biggest thing in the universe. I think it gets bigger, but we can't find that because we're trapped into this atom. We're in an atom right now. It's fucking weird. And to be completely honest, we're even trapped even further inside an ozone, inside gravity. We're trapped here, and we're using technology to get farther out. Now imagine if we use some sort of technology that we can fabricate that can get us farther. And I think that we're not going to get there on that trajectory without this theory. So that's why I'm telling you guys this theory, because I have tons of theories, but I think this one is important to wrap your head around, because this theory could change history. And some of you guys might be like, how? How could that change history? We're stuck here. Well, we're going to be stuck here until we realize that there's more out there, and we can compute physics, and we can find different types of ideas. Like my ideas would be like those protons going around other protons, or the stars going around other stars. We can manipulate those, right? And perhaps using that gravity we can go past the speed of light. I know there's the theory out there that, you know, you can go around a black hole and you can go faster than the speed of light. But we can use things like this, new ideas like this, through this theory. Plus, we can stop surrendering to this is all that there is. This is it. And then the idea goes back to, well, is it scarier that there's a God or not a God? Is it scarier if we're alone in the universe, or if there's others in the universe? Why don't we just stop all that horse shit, which is another form of ... and nothing happening? Or we can fucking really get into things that really are observable, identifiable, and empirical, and then we can fucking reason and use logic on top of that to create new theories that can revolutionize everything. Now, you know me as a philosopher. I'm not a scientist or a physicist, but you combine my philosophy with a scientific or mathematical mind, we can make things happen. You add me with fucking Elon Musk's team of people with SpaceX, dude, sky's the limit, right? No, there is no limit. Anyways, so I definitely been rambling on, and I apologize for that. There's just a lot of key elements I had to go over, because I don't think I explained that very simply, and I definitely don't feel like remaking this video, because I just spent 33 minutes on this video. So this is what you're going to get. If you have any more questions on this, let me know. I have request videos still. I just wanted to tap back into, I have about 20 things that I've jotted down into my notes in my phone of different topics, and this was one of them that I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to do 2 more request videos, and then I'll go back to Mind of Opex videos, and then I'm going to try to deviate from the norm and try to get into other topics as well. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for going down this rabbit hole with me. If you stayed to the end, congratulations. You're not a moron. So let me know what you think about my theory. If there's any holes in the theory, let me know. Of course, I'm not that intelligent, so I'm just using philosophy, which I'm really, really good at. And of course, you know, I don't believe that neutrons and electrons are going around protons, but it's a similar idea, right? So if you want to talk about that, like neutrons and electrons don't go around protons, well, we can talk about that, and we can identify new ideas in that retrospect. But that's just my theory, because it makes a lot more sense than conventional science, which is religion science, right? So, again, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more content. Plenty more coming. See you guys.